Hello there, it's Claire from Come Back Brighter. I'm going to talk to you today about like the feelings of injustice that you can feel when you're going through the process of working through the narcissistic abuse that you've experienced. Because I think this is a huge thing to process. Now, I've talked in a previous video about revenge, about how you can feel that you really want to inflict the pain and suffering on the narcissist that you've encountered, you've suffered, how much you've suffered, you want to inflict on them. Okay. So I think these two things go hand in hand. Okay. Because I think as scapegoats, we're kind of very aware of how unfair and how, the whole situation is. Okay. And how unjust it can feel. Okay. So, but the thing about it to remember is that the whole dynamic, if you're the scapegoat, is set up against you, and it always has been. Okay. And I think that this shows like a certain amount of your healing, because if you've got to the stage when you're feeling how unfair it was, how unjust it was, how you were treated, then you're actually like at a stage where you're really starting to acknowledge what you've been through. You're really starting to, feel validated in and accepting the fact that the way that you have been treated has been abusive. Okay, so because if you've got to the stage that you feel like that, then you must have been abused and badly treated to have got to that stage. So, because I think at the beginning of the healing journey, so much of this can be like we invalidate ourselves, we blame ourselves, we think it's our fault, we think the entire relationship is our responsibility, we think that we're a bad person, we think that there's things that we could have done differently to have a better outcome, so that we wouldn't have to go no contact, or we wouldn't have to distance ourselves from these people. But all of those things that you go through, okay, it's absolutely inevitable. And that those things in themselves are symptoms of the abuse that you've been through, okay? Because you've been systematically, you've been lied to, you've been, they've gaslighted you, they've twisted reality, they've consistently invalidated you, they've told you that you're oversensitive, they've ridiculed you for how you're feeling. All these different things, you see, added up together, and a part of the healing process is once you come to this point when you really want like to see justice done. Okay, and that's absolutely valid. Okay, completely valid. And I can remember going through the same thing myself. However, we're not talking about a family setup where justice is served, where justice is something of the family. The whole thing is not fair. And it's not fair because basically the narcissist has decided potentially, if you're watching this video, then you're probably the scapegoat. And they've just decided that on like nothing. So it could be you're the only girl, the only daughter. It could be you're the oldest. It could be the youngest. It could be you're the middle one. It could be you're a boy. It could be whatever it is. Okay, it could be hundreds of different reasons why you're selected as the scapegoat, and it's not fair. It's not fair that you are systematically the one that is the target of not just the narcissist's venom and hatred and just vile behavior. You're also the target of the rest of the family. Okay, so there's no such thing as fairness within the narcissistic family. There's no such thing as justice, because the other thing is that what people will do, what the other members of the family will do, instead of rallying around the victim of the abuse, they will rally around the abuser instead. Okay, and this is where it feels really unjust, because the one that really should be like ousted from the family is the perpetrator of the abuse, so the narcissist themselves. But the narcissist has set the whole family up to be terrified of them okay, for different reasons, and therefore the whole family are still terrified of them. It doesn't matter if the narcissist children are in their whatever 40s, 50s, 60s, they'll still be afraid of the narcissist. The narcissist still has all the power and control within that toxic family. So they rally around the narcissist to try to keep the narcissist as stable as possible. And if the scapegoat is the one that's like distancing themselves or actually gone no contact, then it's the rest of the family's priority to try to make sure that they're not the next scapegoat. That's what the priority becomes. Okay, so the whole thing is set up against you. 100%. The narcissist is against you, your other parent is against you, and your siblings are against you too. And it's not fair. But the narcissist has molded, in particular their children, but also their partner too, to be controlled, to be manipulated, to be a target for abuse. Because whilst you might be the scapegoat, and that's your principal role, every single member of the family at some stage will be treated as the scapegoat. Okay, so everybody's endured that, but you've endured it the worst because you are the scapegoat 95% of the time. Okay, so you're the scapegoat most of the time, okay? And that's your role that's been designated to you. But what I want you to bear in mind is the narcissist has had the whole of your lifetime, okay? We're talking about narcissistic parents here. They've had the whole of your lifetime to mold you to be afraid of them, to manipulate you, to use your weaknesses against you, to control you, as they have done with your sibling, okay? So it's not a fair, like thing here. It's not a fair scenario here, okay? Because what potentially you might be doing is you might be trying to fight against decades of manipulation and power and control by the narcissist, especially when it comes to your siblings, okay? They've been conditioned into this behavior. This is normal for them, okay? This is how, especially if they're the golden child, this is how they've been nurtured. They've been created like that. When they've had these behaviors, when they've been entitled, when they've been selfish and all these things, that behavior has been encouraged and nurtured by the narcissist and potentially by the other parent too, okay? They don't know any different. They think that's normal. And they see the scapegoat getting a worse deal and thinking, I want to be the golden child here. I want to continue to be the golden child, and I will do everything I can. I will see how the dynamic works. I can see how I can try to claw back some power control in this situation. Okay, but they won't push it too far because it's still the narcissistic parent who's kind of in charge of it all. So if you did try to get justice, I think truly and honestly, you're fighting a losing battle. You haven't had decades to manipulate the members of your family like your narcissistic parent has. You haven't, if you're up against a golden child, this is normal behavior for them, okay? The way their parent behaves towards them is normal, and they get something out of it. And 9 times out of 10, that's probably money. But they get something out of it. So they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to change the dynamic. They're quite happy with the way things are. They're getting the things, whatever the things might be, and they're quite happy with the arrangement. Now, what often happens is that you will find that the narcissistic parent goes up against the golden child, okay? Or that's how it appears. Now, that's very important to say. That's how it appears. Because the narcissistic parent will set you up. What they'll do is they will paint the golden child out to be the bad one to you, okay? He's doing that, she's doing this, all this tattletelling, all the things. I'm upset because they did this, they did this thing and it made me angry, or they did this thing and I didn't give them permission to do it. And you'll hear all these sob stories that will come from the narcissistic parent about the golden child. And I will just mention they're probably doing it the other way around as well. They're probably telling the golden child all these tales about what you're doing, okay, that may not actually be true. And it may not actually be true about the golden child. Okay, so what they do is they set you up as the scapegoat to be the one in the middle. You're the one in the middle. Because I think ultimately what they do is they use the scapegoat. The narcissistic parent will use the scapegoat child to protect themselves from the golden child. And it may just be that the narcissistic parent gets enough kind of like relief by just venting how they're feeling about the golden child. Okay, that might be enough for them. Oh, I'm just going to have a moan about him. That's fine. I've had a moan. I feel better now. Scapegoat feels weighed down by it all, feels responsible for it, is sad, upset, angry, frustrated of the dynamic between their parent and the golden child. Okay, so they've successfully dumped it all on the scapegoat. Okay, like just dump their crap on them, and they might be happy with that. But actually, it may go steps further. And what the narcissistic parent will actually do will use the scapegoat to protect them in some way or another. And that might actually be like a physical block. It might be the golden child in their temper tantrum, okay, can be so violent that they want someone to protect them. So the scapegoat has been like conditioned to protect the narcissistic parent, even against their own sibling, okay? And it might be that the narcissistic parent asks for some other sort of protection. So they might ask the scapegoat to have power of attorney because they're worried about the golden child getting control of their finances. Okay. But, right. So back to injustice. That's the dynamic. You're fighting against a dynamic, a really sick, toxic dynamic that has gone on for decades. Okay. And don't forget, of course, right, for your sibling, they've endured it for decades, okay? That's that. But your narcissistic parent will have endured this for even more decades than that, a much longer amount of time, because the chances are they came from this toxic dynamic themselves, okay? So it's almost like you want to change them, okay? You want them to realize what they've done. That you want them to realize how unfair they're being. You want them to realize that the treatment of you is not deserved. That you just want things to be equal and fair between you and your siblings. But that's not how it works in a narcissistic family. And if you try and fight, okay, so this might be over like inheritance. This might be over like finances whilst both your parents are alive. It might be over a car. It might be over a house. It might be over anything. Okay, it might be over attention. It might be over anything. But the more you fight, the more they're loving it. Both of them. Because both of them are getting your energy. They're getting your attention, okay? And they're feeding off that energy. They're loving it. The more you're emotionally invested in seeking justice and getting what is fair for you, the more you're feeding both of them, your narcissistic parent and your narcissistic sibling, exactly what they need and they crave so much. And that is your energy and attention. So if you've got to the stage where like you feel like you're fighting for justice here, okay, I'll be willing to bet you that you have been fighting for justice for a long time. So I ask you just this one question, and that is, how far has it got you so far? Because if you've been fighting, I think there's something about our scapegoats, right? We like truth, we like justice, we like things to be fair. We're like really sensitive to those things because we have not lived in an environment of truth and fairness and justice. Okay, we feel it deeply because that's never been anything that we've experienced within our toxic families. Okay, So we're really sensitive to these things, okay? So I'll be willing to bet that this kind of quest for justice that you've been on as scapegoat has probably been going on for decades. Has it ever made any difference? And I'm willing to bet your answer to that is no. Because if you're fighting for justice, okay, especially when it comes to family members, they have to be open, receptive, willing to take responsibility. They have to care about you, and they have to care about your relationship. And when you go in there and you're fighting for justice, that's not what they want from this. That's not what they want from this dynamic. What they want is drama, attention, and energy, because that's what keeps them alive. So I want you, if you're thinking about justice and you still got this burning desire, I want you to think about how far it's got you previously. And I want you to consider too, how much energy would it take from you to pursue this? Because the more you put in, the more you fight for justice, the greater your parent and your sibling, if that's the dynamic, I don't know, it might be between your parents, whatever it is, the greater drama there is from this. And they're gonna feed off of that, and they're gonna want more drama, more drama, more drama. Okay? Because the thing to mention, most importantly in all of this, okay, especially if this is concerning a narcissistic parent, is that they will always make sure that they are okay. They will always make sure that they are okay. So they might come to you with this sob story about their finances, how the golden child's taking their money, blah, 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 whatever, fill in the blanks with whatever you want. But the truth is that the narcissistic parent is allowing it to happen. And if they're allowing it to happen, there's something going on in the background that you don't know about. And that will be a secret account. It will be some deal they've got with the golden child. Because don't forget, in all of this, you're being triangulated. The narcissistic parent will be telling you what your golden child sibling has told them. So you don't know what's true. And the golden child doesn't know what's true either. But they don't have the same quest for truth. They just want to make sure that they have more. That's all they're interested in. I want more, whatever it is. So, and this ties in with the desire for revenge. Same thing. You want them to hurt the same as you've been hurt. I 100% understand that. I've been in the same place myself, but they won't hurt. There's nothing you can do that will hurt them. And the sad truth is, there's nothing you can do that will hurt them because they don't have the ability to care. They don't have the ability to think about anybody else. The only way that you can hurt someone is if they care. And that's not what narcissists do. So I think this is like a huge process, a part of the healing process, because you've got to the stage where you've actually acknowledged truly to yourself that you're being abused, because then that's when these feelings of injustice come out. Okay. So it's a big stage, but it's something you've just got to sit with. It's something to work through. It's something to journal about. And if you got those like feelings of like revenge too, then just write out what you would like to do, how you would like them to feel, but don't act on it. Okay, because all you're doing unwittingly, whilst you're in the fire of revenge, and while you want justice, the narcissist will be relishing it. They will be relishing it. They will exploit it. They will use it for their gain. They will make sure that they're getting the attention and the energy. They will be the victims. They will be the hard done by ones. And if you're investing your energy, if you're still, you know, if you're not sat with this and processing it by yourself, and you're actually acting on your desire for justice and your desire for revenge, okay, then I want you to consider what you're taking your energy away from to do this. Because in keeping them still in engaging in this, if you like, the narcissist is still your priority. And I invite you to consider, would it not be better if your precious energy is spent on healing yourself from what you've been through? So much of our healing process is focused still on the narcissist. And it's normal, it's absolutely 100% normal to go through this, okay? 100% normal. I went through it myself. But I got to the stage where I realized, actually, my plans for justice, my plans for revenge even, would never work out the way that I wanted them to. So I just had to work through it. I just had to sit with it. But one thing I will say as well is that, and this like doesn't feel like a big enough reason when you're there, okay? When you're in that desire for revenge and justice, it doesn't feel like a big enough reason. But I believe narcissists are deeply unhappy people. I have yet to meet a happy narcissist. Really, truly, like joyful narcissist. Okay, they have periods of time when they can appear to be happy, but is it that they're happy, or is it just that they're not so miserable? There being a difference. And they will never know peace. And I truly feel like the healing process, and the essential part of the healing process, is to do things that bring you peace. And working through your feelings of revenge or, you know, your desire for justice will bring you more peace than actually engaging with a narcissist to try and get these things for yourself. You, on a bad day, 100% feel so much better than a narcissist ever does in their lifetime. Because for the narcissist, the world will never revolve around them. And they're never going to get everything that they think they're entitled to. And that's all they're interested in. And all they see constantly and experience is how they are not the center of the world, and how they're not going to get what they feel they're entitled to. So their life is a series of disappointments, frustrations, difficulties. Not a fun place to be. So a lot of these, I remember watching videos myself when I was going through the healing process myself years ago, and they would say things like, your best revenge is to live well. Yeah. Your best revenge actually is to prioritize your peace. Because what's the alternative? Now you've lived in the alternative. You've been there. You've taken the narcissist on previously. I'll be willing to bet you, if you've gone no contact, you've already been in this place with them. You've already tried to say to them, look, your behavior is not acceptable. This thing that you did was not acceptable. And what did it result in? It resulted in no contact. And it resulted in bucket loads of stress for you, which no doubt had impacts on your emotional health, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, every single aspect of financial health. Did I say that? Your relationships with other people. It would have had an impact on all of those things, detrimental. possibly even devastating. You've been here before, and it didn't work previously. So what makes you think it's going to work now? Your peace is important. Your peace is imperative and essential, not only for your healing process, but also for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your financial health, your every sort of health. All your health is, all your health, every single aspect of your health, your relationships too, will benefit from you working through this on your own and focusing and concentrating on your peace. I hope that this helps. If you need me, I'm here for you. Either drop a comment below or email me, Clare, CLARE, comebackbrighter@gmail.com. Bye.